What's up, Guam? Welcome to Chamber of BizBox, the podcast all about our private sector, the issues and successes we face as a business community, and interesting tidbits about the entrepreneurs and leaders that make a difference to ensure that our private sector continues to grow and flourish. My name is Castro, your host for the Chamber of BizBox. Today we have a very special guest from the Guam Crime Stoppers organization who is with us today, and his name is James McDonald, fondly known as Jim. And what's really cool is that Mr. McDonald is not only the board chairman for the Guam Crime Stoppers program here on Guam, but he's also the regional director for Region 14. How are you, and welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Miss Catherine. I'm glad to be here. It's exciting, to talk to, our people out there, to explain about, how crime and drugs affect, our way of life.
Exactly. So just really quick, for folks that are not familiar with Crime Stoppers, can you just let us know what is Crime Stoppers and what is it for Guam?
Okay, Crime Stoppers is a tool. It first started in New Mexico years ago, and what it does is it helps the community locate criminals, and suspects, especially unsolved cases. What happened in Albuquerque, New Mexico years ago is that there was a student from the University of New Mexico that was murdered, and nobody wanted to come out and say anything. They were so afraid, to call the police, to give information. So one detective came up with an idea, and he said, "Hey, why don't we have a hotline? And with this hotline, if someone calls in, they would always remain anonymous." And we could get that information. Guess what? As soon as that thing went off, they caught the suspects. So that was when Crime Stoppers was first born and created right there in the state of New Mexico. So that's why every year there's a conference. They go from one state to the other, and what they do is they share success stories, and that's why I'm so excited with that, because I've been a volunteer for Crime Stoppers for 28 years now.
Wow.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just this past year, I was nominated, to be the regional director, for Region 14, overseeing the state of Alaska, Oregon, Washington State, and Idaho. And, I'm still here at Guam as a board chairman. And what's exciting about this is that whenever we read the papers or we check our tips, because we have our Sergeant Paul Topal, he's the guy that monitors the tips that come in. We're using technology now. They call it the P3 Tips, Crime Stoppers app, that's being utilized nationwide, 50 states and territories. All you got to do is download it from the App Store, and it's free. And you can submit a tip in, and you would always remain anonymous. And at the end, you will get a code number. So the Crime Stoppers coordinator will communicate with you. He'll look at it, and if he needs any more information, he will request for it. But at no time would he know who the tipster is.
I see.
Yes, and the beauty of this is that we're protected, locally, federally, from any subpoenas. But still, I always inform them, if you're going to submit a tip, please do not put your name. Do not volunteer your name. There's no need for that. We just had that murder down there. Remember the Korean tourist down there in Tumon? And GVB issued out a reward of $50,000. That's fine, but the thing about that is that they said you can only pay that reward if the person is found, guilty, and that can take years. But with the Crime Stoppers program, as soon as there's an arrest of a suspect, we can pay out, the rewards of up to $1,000 or more, depending on the seriousness of the crime.
So when was Crime Stoppers established on Guam?
In Guam, it was established in the early 70s.
No kidding.
Yes, the early 70s, and I'm trying to, by a police officer, and, we learned from all those Crime Stoppers person, you have Sandy Mesa Cook, Cynthia Jackson, all those guys. Those are the Kathy Mateo, those are women. But guess what? These guys, we learned from them, and it's because of them that, they set the foundation for Crime Stoppers, and they invited me years ago. Steve Nygaard, you remember?
Of course I do, yeah.
Yes, he was a great, board member, for Crime Stoppers. There's a few more. Kathleen Morlin, used to be there, and other board members. Kayo Mandapat, is still a board member.
Great.
What's her name from GTA? Paris. Michelle. She was a board member, and we have Doris Kichichu. She used to be from Sorensen.
Yes.
My wife is a volunteer. She's from the University of Guam. We have Miss Divina of Aristo,
McDonald's.
from McDonald's, and we have a few more that are sub board members and helping. We have Tom Blas and Richard and Linda Burkhart. These are educators. So what we want to do is we want to invite more younger people, millennials, because we're not always going to be here, so that we can teach them. And these guys are more into Instagram and all that stuff.
I was going to ask you, how has social media played a part in identifying suspects or anything like that? I noticed maybe the neighborhood watch programs. How has that impacted catching suspects for crimes?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because without social media, we would not catch a lot of these suspects. Because people out there, they carry their smartphone. Whenever they see something out there, guess what? They record it. They record it, and they put it on their neighborhood watch, and then that thing, Sergeant Paul Tapang and myself and the board members, we're connected to, most of the neighborhood watch. So we get that information, look at it, and then we submit it to the Crime Stoppers coordinator, and everybody's eyes is
right. And
on it.
And businesses too, right? So they have
yes.
their CCTVs, and so that is extremely helpful.
Yes.
Right?
That's the thing, nowadays. That's why these criminals, they're always looking out, they're looking around, but the guys that are, or, the suspects, because it's not only guys, it's females.
Sure.
When they're hooked on drugs and they're desperate, they don't care about CCTVs or what. They just go in. Look at what happened in Payless and Oka.
Right. That's the most recent one that we've seen, right?
Carjacking.
Yes.
And home invasions. The one down in PD. So we're just very fortunate that our board members and the neighborhood watch are all involved in the fight against crime, because that's everybody's responsibility out there. When people say, "Oh, I don't want to get involved in all that," no, it's in our DNA to be a good Samaritan out there. You want to make a difference in the fight against crime. If you see your neighbors, in the 2 a.m, a lot of cars coming there, that's a red flag. It doesn't hurt to submit a tip and say, "Hey, my neighbor, there's a bunch of cars coming in at 2 a.m. That's usually an indicator that they're dealing drugs. And that's going to affect all our kids out there. So that's why it's very important, that we spread the word out there, because it's just our kids that's going to get hurt. You notice there's an increase of criminal sexual conduct on rape on our kids.
It's terrible.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's all drug related.
Yeah, so
know?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that in this day and age, we really need to look out for our neighbors.
Yes.
And when you see something, say something. And I think that,
Yes.
I mean, I think that's a motto for something very similar, right? So when you see something, say something. But I feel very strongly that, we have to look out for each other. And one way, an anonymous way to do this is via the Crime Stoppers app or the Crime Stoppers hotline.
Yes.
Because, maybe the suspects are related to you, or maybe they're friends, right? And you know that what's happening or what has been done is, illegal, or is a crime against the community or against people, right?
Yes.
And if we want to live, if we want to have the quality of life that we aspire to, we need to help each other,
Yes.
right? So, what ways can the community? So we've got Neighborhood Watch. We've got, we could utilize Crime Stoppers apps. Is there
Yes.
other things that we can do as a community to prevent crime on Guam?
Yes, like I said, with technology now, the smartphone, that's the best tool that success story nationwide, because everywhere you go, you have that smartphone. And the beauty of this app, the P3 Tips app, is that when you travel to Hawaii, California, you just switch to Hawaii region. And then when you see a crime being committed there, guess what? If you upload it or you submit and there's an arrest, you can get a cash reward, from those, different states and, and territories. So here in Guam, I always put it out there in the community that no matter how minute the crime is, you see a person stealing tires, hot caps,
Exactly.
stealing batteries, or shoplifting, you know that he's doing that not to buy candies. He's doing that to support his habit.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And it's very sad what our community is going through now, because a lot of our kids they're the ones getting hurt.
Exactly. I think in you're a volunteer.
Yes.
And for Crime Stoppers, but in your opinion, what are the unique challenges or factors that contribute to this crime on Guam?
Okay, since drugs, illegal drugs, and the reason why I mentioned that, because drug is not a local thing, it's a regional thing. And that's why I always reinforce it to our leaders. And that's why I'm glad I'm in this position as a regional director, because what I do is when I travel out there, I speak to them and I let them know. I share with them whenever there's a bus in Guam, like coming from the mail, like it's coming from Nevada or California or Texas or Washington, Oregon. I would contact those guys and say, hey, this is the name of this person. Can what I do is I let GPD communicate with them and share information. That's the beauty of Crime Stoppers, so they can connect the dots and put a stop. We have to be proactive. We can't just wait, and that's why I always tell our leaders, our politicians here. I said, please support customs. It's not because I retired there or I was a former, police officer, but they're the first line of defense. Fix those 2 X-ray machines that's sitting there idle on the passenger terminal. It's inoperative for the past 4 or 5 years.
No kidding.
Yeah, I said those are the tools that we need.
So what are they using now? They're just opening.
They're just opening up.
So based on like suspicion, or based on, do they use dogs, or like how? What else?
They have dogs. Not as much as before, but they're starting to build up again.
Okay.
Because they lost a lot of officers to the federal, because of pay, incentives and all that.
Sure.
But that shouldn't stop. our leaders, they should give them the funding.
I agree.
Give them the funding to fix those X-ray, machines, or to get new boats, because as we are all aware, we have illegal Chinese immigrants that are just coming through our borders. Yeah. So we need to get new boats, new officers, and get out there and protect our borders, because these guys are not just coming here to Guam because we have sunshine and nice beach. No, these guys are bringing in contraband to survive, because they can't find a job here. They are not U.S. citizens. So they're going to bring contrabands, and they're going to start selling it, getting their network together. And, it's sad, because our island is small, and we can all make a difference. If you see someone coming in through the beach up there in Aruna or whatever, it's a red flag when you see that it's not a local person.
Right.
Swimming in, changing his clothes, and this and that. Use your smartphone, call 911. Something like that, emergent, call 911 so they can respond right away.
Right.
Because if you submit the tip, sometimes they won't check it until hours later,
Yeah.
or the following day. So anything emergent, life-threatening, or something like that, call 911. And if you're going to submit a tip, please don't submit it to 911. The reason why I say that, it is a government entity, and you could be subpoenaed by the courts. But if you submit it to the nonprofit organization using our tools, because we're a nonprofit, you will be protected, by our clause.
Sure. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yes.
So, what are the most common types of crime reported through the Crime Stoppers app?
It's usually stolen vehicles, rape, robberies.
So it's varied.
Yeah. It's. I hate to say it. I don't want to scare people out there, but wherever there's drugs, these guys carry weapons. I mean, look at that poor lady in the Thai restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right on that special day, right? She was just going home.
Yeah.
After work.
Yeah.
It's
heartbreaking.
And this couple, they were looking, for ways to rob people because they wanted to support their habit, and they killed that poor woman. They killed that poor woman, and it affects the whole community.
Of course.
I mean,
and it affects the community. There, people get concerned and anxious, right, about even visiting that establishment, that poor business establishment, so yeah, it's not a thing that we want for our island community, where we're so known and we're such a loving community, right, and so a warm community. We're known for that, and how we grew up. I mean, we all, it was one of those situations where everybody took care of everybody, right?
Yes.
And now it's like, that's their business. I don't want to get involved,
to
right?
each his own.
Right, and and that doesn't help us at all.
Yes.
With especially with the various crimes that are impacting our island.
Yes.
What measures? So, for example, if a crime does occur and somebody was a witness to it or was made aware of it, and some are still reticent, they're still concerned about telling the authorities. What do we tell? Can you let our listeners know what mechanisms are in place to protect the anonymity of the people or the person providing the tip?
Yes, this tool that we have, like I said, they call it the P3 tips, is a perfect tool. You know, some people ask me, what is the P for? That's police. You know, so what they can do, download that app on, you know, the app store, submit your tips in, don't put your name in. The only names you put in there are the suspects that you know. You know, you can do that. And you would always remain anonymous, you know.
And you said that the tip comes with a number?
Yes, as soon as you submit that tip, you will receive a code number, and then that code number, that's how the Crime Stoppers coordinator, you know, when he reads that, he'll vet it, and then he'll refer it to the, you know, investigators, the detective, you know, in GPD, especially if it's a homicide or a robbery. And what those guys will do, if they need more information, yeah, we'll communicate with the, you know, with the the tipster, and we'll ask for more, you know, information.
So you mentioned earlier that there are there's incentives for people to submit a tip, right?
Yes.
So if it's an anonymous tip, how do they receive the incentive?
Okay, this is what happens. As soon as there's a legal arrest out there, the coordinator will inform us, you know, Crime Stoppers, hey, we have a legal arrest, you know, 2 persons were arrested. I want to recommend a certain amount, you know, up to $1,000 or more to pay out a reward. Let me ask this person, you know, do they want to receive a reward? So he'll communicate with that person via, you know, their code. And if the person says yes, the board will have their meeting, and then we will approve the cash reward. And what we do is we work with, you know, the banks, you know, which is Bank of Guam, Coast 360, First Hawaiian Bank, and you know, we let them, we give the cash, you know, and we put it in an envelope, and there's just a code number there. At no time would they ask them for their ID or whatever, and no police officer will be giving out any reward. You know, it could be the board members, and it could be the you know, the bank, you know, the tellers.
If somebody wanted to be involved in Crime Stoppers, you know, that wanted to support the association, how would they do that?
You see, when we have the annual McDonald's Run Against Crime stuff,
Yes.
that's when we get a lot of volunteers.
Oh, great.
That's when the doors open up and they come in and they say, hey, I want to volunteer to do this. And then, you know, they enjoy themselves and everything, and then they sign up, you know, and then we have that list there. And, you know, they would say, hey, guys, whenever you guys need a fundraiser or whatever, we're glad to, you know, to assist. And what these guys will do, they'll spread the word out about the P3 tips, and we'll even train them, you know, this and that.
Right.
And
Yes.
they'll go out with us to the schools, you know, and we talk, you know, we do outreach,
That's
you know, in the
fantastic.
schools.
Yeah, that's
Because,
important.
you know, that's the best way to get through, you know, the people out there. Start with the young first, you know,
Exactly.
and let them know about the dangers of drugs. I mean, I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, you know, even Gov Guam, you know, they have a drug problem too, you know. We had the, how many police officers that got arrested? You know, in any organization, there's always a few bad apples.
Sure.
You remember the
Yeah.
bus driver?
Yeah.
You know, when he was trying to reverse the bus or something, and he was having problem, and the police officer went up to him and said, "Are you okay? Can I take a look at what's inside your,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
you know, his container?" As soon as they opened it up, guess what? There was meth inside.
Oh my goodness gracious.
You know. So it affects everyone in the community. It don't matter. It has no discrimination.
Right.
And that's why I keep reminding people, if you hear any of your relatives that's involved, the earliest to report them in is better, because maybe you can help them.
That's
They
right.
can send them to the Bureau of Health and they can help them. But if you just sit back and allow them to do the things they do, you're gonna regret it when they rape a little girl or they kill somebody out there. You're gonna say, "Oh man, I should have reported that. I knew all of this, before."
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important that we get involved with Crime Stoppers USA. It's say it here. With the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, you see something, say something. Yeah, they're also a TIPS organization, but with them, the federal, they don't have that anonymity or anonymous thing,
Right.
because they're not a nonprofit and they're a federal entity.
Yes. So if people are or businesses are interested in contributing to the rewards, for you to provide rewards, how would they do that? Just make a check to
Yes.
Guam Crime Stoppers?
Yes, they can make a check to Guam Crime Stoppers, and you can even deposit it at our bank at Coast 360, because that happens pretty often.
No kidding. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
We go up there and we say, "Hey, wow, you guys are getting donations." I say, "Yeah, those are people from all walks of life.
Yes.
They want to make a difference."
Right. Yeah.
And that's one way of them, doing that, because we're just volunteers. So a lot of my board members now, I might be talking here. Guess what? They're at work also.
Yes, that's right.
They're,
Yeah.
they're there, performing their 8-hour jobs. So
Yeah.
so that's why that really helps, man, in the in sustaining our organization. So that we can do more outreach. We can help send these guys to the conference, off island, so that we can, share best practices. And that's why I keep telling the mayors, I said, "Hey, all this stuff about illegal dumping and all that, guess what? That's a problem nationwide. But let's work together, and because that's why I always put it out there. You see somebody putting a couch out there in the side of the road somewhere, or a refrigerator or something, and it's illegal. Hey, take the license plate number. You can submit a tip to us.
Yep.
And guess what? We will put it out on the air.
Yep.
And we will offer a reward, to the tipster.
Yep.
And nobody's gonna know who you are, and this and that.
Exactly.
So all types of crimes. That's the beauty of Crime Stoppers. It helps in the community, and it's not only Crime Stoppers. Once we get it up and running, the call center, we do a lot of stuff also there. Some people just call up and they'll ask, "Hey, what's the number for for a battered woman, and this and that." So we have all that listing. We just give it to them.
Do you work with the mayor's
Yes.
offices? And
Yes, the mayor's council.
Okay.
Because those guys, they see everything out there.
yes, that's right.
And they're the ones that that create, what do you call that, that handle the village app. Deredu, Baragada, Sinohanya, Ganya. It's it's very busy, man. Agate.
Yeah,
And it's,
I could imagine.
And I always advise them, because a lot of them, like you said, you mentioned it earlier. When you're in that neighborhood watch and you see your relative next door, a couple blocks away, doing something wrong, you're hesitant
Yep.
to report it on the app because they see your name there,
Yep. Yep.
and they can, right? Do a retribution or whatever.
Sure. Exactly.
So that's why I always tell them, we have that tool. You can submit that tip on the P3 tips, and nobody's going to know who you are.
So if you want to download the app from
The App Store.
the App Store, it's just called P3 Tips?
Yes,
Okay.
the P3 tips.
Cool.
Yes.
And then you just identify that you're from Guam, and then if you move or if you go to a different state, you can just choose the state, and
You pop into their Crime Stoppers program. Of course, you have
Very
to
cool.
have your own password, you know, that
Sure.
you create to get in. But it's a beautiful tool, man. That is, and it's very very successful. That's why I go to the University of Guam, GCC. I share it with the students, you know, and there's thousands of people that are, you know, that have that on their phone now. So.
Well, that's so great. So thank you so much. You know, we appreciate, you know, your passion, right, in trying to get the word out, in trying to keep our island crime free, trying to keep people informed.
Yes.
And you know, you do it because you love Guam, and
Yes.
and the people that are involved, you know, the board members, they do it because they love Guam.
Yes.
And so the whole idea is that the entire community, you know, we want to round up the community and just, you know, do our best, right? When we see a crime, report it, tell everybody about the P3 app, tell everybody about Crime Stoppers and the opportunity to be anonymous, and not, you know, you don't have to worry about people knowing who you are when you put a tip in. And then if people want to, you know, reach you, they want to volunteer, they want to, you know, give a contribution and want to speak with you more about it, how would they reach you?
Yes, you can go into our website, you know, or Facebook. Go into Facebook.
Okay.
Yes, or
So
you
it's
can-
Guam Crime Stoppers or
Yes.
Crime Stoppers Guam?
Crime Stoppers Guam.
Okay.
Yes, or you can drop it off at McDonald's.
Oh, any McDonald's?
Yes, you can do that because Miss Davina, you know,
Okay,
she's
sure. Yes, of course.
marketing manager, né?
Okay.
So she always has that option, you know, and people have been doing it. You know, they go to McDonald's and they say, "Can you give this to Miss Davina Avaristo?" You know, so yeah, and the guy that created, the police officer that created this, you know, I can never forget him. You know, Phil Dennis.
Oh my goodness, of
You
course.
remember that name?
I do.
Yeah, Phil Dennis is the brain of Crime Stoppers, the creator of Crime Stoppers here in Guam. You know, and he's still around.
No
He
kidding.
lives in Florida, so he's an honorary member of USA Crime Stoppers and also for Guam Crime Stoppers.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, thanks to Phil Dennis, you know, we won't be where we're at today if it wasn't for him.
Right, exactly.
You know, this guy started from scratch, and look at where we're at today.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to thank, of course, McDonald's of Guam. You know, those
Yes.
guys, for so many years, those guys have been spending so much money and resource just to get the word out there, you know, in this 2K, 5K run against crime, and all the businesses that are out there, you know. So wanted to thank all of them, and all the banks now, they're all involved in, you know, being a gold member.
Excellent. All right.
Thank you, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, because without the business community, we won't be successful, because you guys are the ones that, you know, that put out the funds for us.
Well, we're just so thankful that we do have a Crime Stoppers in Guam, and we would love to continue to put the word out about how important the organization is to our island, and you know, encourage all of the listeners to please download the app and to share this podcast with as many people as they can, because really, you know, this is our island, and we want to take care of our home.
Yes.
And I think, you know, the bottom line is we want to tell, you know, people that they're thinking about committing a crime. We want them to second guess that. We want them to not do it.
Yes.
And we want them to be contributors to our community in a positive way instead of a negative way.
Yes.
We want to be able to lower the population at Department of Corrections.
Yes.
We, you know, we want to see better things for our people. You Guam has great things. It's a beautiful island. We have great folks here, and other things that we can do to put Guam on the map. And it's certainly, not because, we have a high rate of crime here. So we're just asking the community to contribute and do their part. And if you see something, if you see a crime, report it and do so anonymously.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
It's such a pleasure, and I learned so much today. And I hope our listeners also enjoyed this particular podcast. And we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate the insights that Mr. McDonald shared with us about the very important issues of crime facing our island and our residents. And we just really want to say thank you for his time and for sharing this important information. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in and listening to today's show. We encourage you to drop us a note, to share your comments on this episode, or visit our website or social media platforms. We really appreciate your feedback, and we look forward to having you back on the Chamber BizBox again very soon. This is your host, Catherine Castro. Until next time, take good care and make it a great day, Guam.